The 7 Deadly Blitzes, brought to you by EPOC Martial Arts. No matter what your preferred martial arts style is, whether it is grappling, striking, ground, weapons, Western, Eastern, or even postmodern, there are 7 Deadly Blitzes. First, what is a blitz? Let's take a minute to define the term. In combat, there are 4 ways of putting pressure on your opponent. The following diagram is taken from the book Strategic Engagement of Force, a martial arts field guide to strategy and tactics. These 4 ways are: Number 1, blitz. Number 2, zone. Number 3, hit and run. And number 4, stalk. Number 1 in this diagram, the blitz, is our topic for today. A blitz is a combination of force, either movement, firepower, or communication, on a linear trajectory, fast down the center line. There are 7 blitzes. The 7 blitzes are: Pattern 1, rolling; Pattern 2, repeating; Pattern 3, figure 8; Pattern 4, fanning; Pattern 5, synchronous; Pattern 6, expansion and contraction; Pattern 7, spinning. When the appropriate blitz is invoked at the right moment in a fight, the results can be devastating for an opponent. How do these blitz patterns work, and how can we apply them? To best answer these questions, we will turn to mixed martial arts expert, Scott Gehring, to help unlock the answer.
Hi, this is Scott Gehring with EPOC Martial Arts. This is my colleague Sean Morrissey. We're going to talk to you today about the 7 blitz patterns.
First up, blitz pattern 1, rolling.
We're going to start with a rolling pressure pattern. Rolling pressure pattern is a series of rolling punches down the center line. This is the Bruce Lee straight blast. We're going to enter in off a front elbow destruction, create the entry, then move in with our blitz pattern. Here we go. Notice Sean's using the front elbow destruction to destroy the punch. That creates an opening to put his blitz pattern in.
With this blitz, the hands create a rolling pattern down center line. Rolling is not limited to punches. The tools can be implemented off any limb, both arms and legs. Next, blitz pattern 2, repeating.
The next pressure pattern is repeating. We'll continue to do these off front elbow destructions. Point is, destroy the punch, enter, put some pressure on him. In this case, we'll use repeating forward pressure. We do with a repeater. Notice we're putting a check on the arm. The repeating pressure occurs from the repeating strikes. It could be a jab, it could be a punch, it could be a hammer fist. Notice when we were doing the repeater, we were putting in different types of implements. I jab, the tool is irrelevant.
Repeating is any tool that repeats. As with the other blitzes, the tools are not limited to hands. Any implement can be used. Elbows, knees, even kicks. Blitz pattern 3, figure 8.
We're going to use a push entry at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push Sean, and this is going to establish a figure 8 pattern. Certain patterns work better in different situations than others.
The figure 8 pattern works best when the opponent is flush to you with their head and body exposed. This is why it applies so well against attacks like a push. Blitz pattern 4, fanning.
Next pattern is going to be a fanning pattern. Fanning comes from the Filipino martial arts and sometimes referred to as abanico. If you have a stick, abanico is this type of pattern. This is an abanico pattern. Fanning is just an empty hand representation of an abanico. So it's any kind of back and forth windshield wiper type motion. That can occur horizontally, it can occur vertically, and it can occur on an angle. Okay? For the fanning pattern, we're going to use a different type of entry. Before we're doing elbow destructions, we try to push. Now we're going to try it out of Hubad. Again, the point is just to illustrate these pressure patterns can be implemented out of different entry points in a fight.
With the fanning blitz, notice the different angles that are taken: angular and horizontal. Vertical. Blitz pattern 5. Synchronous.
Our next pressure pattern is synchronous pressure. Synchronous pressure is when two limbs are working together. They're fused together. For example, when I do the straight blast, this is asynchronous, meaning they're running one hand on, one hand off, one hand on, one hand off. It's asynchronous. Synchronous is when two hands are working together. So in the case of Dumag, I have two hands on and they're working together. Notice they're not overlapping. The two hands are working together. That is synchronous forward pressure. We'll put the Dumag in out of Hubad. Notice the Dumag can work both directions. In the case of this Dumag, this is forward pressure. What Sean just illustrated is reverse pressure. Reverse pressure. So these patterns can work forward and in inverse.
Notice the hands in this blitz work together in a synchronous fashion, two hands on, as compared to the other patterns, which is one hand on and one hand off. As with all of these patterns, this blitz is not limited to the hands. Blitz pattern 6. Expansion and contraction.
The next pressure pattern is expansion and contraction. Expansion and contraction is using this portion of the body. When you expand, it's like doing the breaststroke, or like ripping your shirt. Oh, expand. Collapse is the opposite. It's like when you're pressing, like if I have a ball, I'm pressing. This is contraction. Expansion and contraction, they work together. This is our next type of forward pressure pattern. We've done our prior pressure patterns out of, we used elbow destructions, we've used Hubad, we've used a push. This time we're going to use a slip and a parry to illustrate, just as an example of different ways of not only using the expansion and contraction, but different methods of entry to apply these pressure patterns. Notice when I did this, after the opening strike, I collapse and I expand. So I collapse and I expand. That is the expansion and collapse energy. And I can reverse. In this case, I'm collapsing and expand. In the case of a push, I can expand and collapse. Okay, so he pushes, I go expand, collapse, I expand, collapse. This one, I collapse and expand. Okay, so either way, you can play with the duality, the dyad that can be played with either way. Whether you start with the expansion or whether you start with the collapse, it's irrelevant.
As the name implies, expansion and contraction expands and collapses. Blitz pattern 7. Spinning.
The next pressure pattern and final one is spinning. Spinning energy. Spinning energy is in the axis rotation line. This is the line, that spike that drives through Sean or any of your opponents. Spins and orbits. Okay, so you could think of a spinning back fist, a spinning knee, any type of spinning energy on a vertical axis plane is our spinning pressure pattern. We're going to implement spinning out of Hubad, but again, any of the other tools, we can do it out of a elbow destruction, any kind of our entries, a gunting, a parry, a block, whatever you're going to use for your entry. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to pick Hubad here just to illustrate the spinning energy. Nice. Go slow. Thanks. Oh, there you go. Good. Sweet. spinning energy can be applied to you. In this case, Sean's doing the spin. But it also can be applied to your opponent as well. There, spinning energy.
There are 2 spinning blitzes, one that comes from you and one that comes from your adversary. This concludes the video on the 7 deadly blitzes. For more information, please visit EPOCMartialArts.com, check out SEF blog, or order the book Strategic Engagement of Force, a field guide for the use of martial arts strategy and tactics. I hope you found this video informative. See you next time. Thank you.